Yeah, appreciate you guys coming out. Appreciate those that could come out today, and an opportunity to really honor some people that have gone through, just some challenges with breast cancer awareness, and really meant a lot to us that they came out. Disappointed, obviously, in the outcome of this game. Felt like we were a lot more disciplined, aggressive, connected in that second half. And it's a 40-minute game. We all understand that. We didn't have an answer for Shay. I think she's one heck of a player. There's a reason she's a top 5, top 4 player in the country. Tried to change some of our ball screen coverage, and really didn't execute at the level that we needed to against her. But give her a lot of credit. She had some tough shots and played 40 minutes and looked like she could probably play 40 more minutes. Just a really special player. Again, thought in the second half we competed at a higher level. Proud of the way we came back again, and made it a game. But bottom line is it's a 40-minute game, right? 40-minute game. And I've got to do a better job as a coach, making sure our players are ready. We clearly weren't dialed in at the level that we needed to be in that first half. And, that's on me. I got to figure out the right buttons to push and to challenge these players, because tonight was a huge opportunity for us and we fell short.
We'll open up the floor to student athletes. Mark?
For Shay and Kira, I just want to get your thoughts. What Coach Todd talked about, that intensity in the second half. What do you think was missing in the first half that, maybe kind of put you a little bit behind?
Coach P obviously just said it's on her, but I think that that's not true. I think it's entirely on us. She shouldn't have to, as our coach, get us going, right? We shouldn't need anyone to motivate us or to get our motors going. And I don't know, there's no excuse for it, really. There's nothing to say of why it happened, just that it's unacceptable. And if we are going to do that, it's not going to lead to good results. And we've seen that, and we've seen the team that we can be when we play with our full effort, full intensity. And I think we did a better job of it in the second half, but it needs to be more consistent.
Yeah, I think we really thrive off of transition, and if we can't get stops, we can't get into transition. And so, like Shay said, coach doesn't need to get us going. We need to be ready from the jump, and I think that really starts defensively. Yeah.
Sean?
Just what's it like kind of having a 6-day break and kind of trying to come back? Is it a double-edged sword? Like you guys just said, there's no excuse for kind of coming out flat, but in terms of just what's the mentality of trying to kind of come off of a 6-day break, coming off a game that kind of really flipped on its head, and just where do you feel like your guys' minds were at coming into this one?
We've talked about this before, but regardless of the 6-day break, you can't look at any team's record. Indiana's an extremely good and talented team, and that's how it is with any team you play in the Big Ten. It doesn't matter their record, just because of how tough the conference is and how talented the players are. So I think for us, it was on us. I don't think it had anything to do with the break. I think that we had great preparation. I thought that we had solid practices. I think that we just didn't come in with the focus and intensity level from the start that we needed to. And I think that we hit a little bit of adversity and didn't respond like we were supposed to and like we should have.
Yeah, I agree. I think it really is important to the 6-day break is a blessing in some ways because you get that chance to reset. And so I feel like we had great practices going into it, just really needed to capitalize today.
Mark?
Kira, you were one of the defenders who had the pleasure of defending Shay. Just what's the toughest part of that, in your opinion?
I think she's really quick and has a really quick release, and so if you give her any space at all, she's going to shoot it. And so I think she does a good job of getting separation, even when we were trying to make it difficult to catch. For her, I think she's just really shifty and has a good change of pace, which is hard to guard. And props to her, she's a really good player.
Riley?
Yeah, I also just want to add on that too, though. Guarding a player like that also takes the whole team, though. It takes a high level of focus to execute the ball screen coverage, to see where she is on the floor, help off of the right people. And I think we could have been a little bit better on that today, helping each other, because our guards were working really hard on stopping her. But ultimately, with a player that talented, you might need a little bit more help. And I think that all of us as a team can take credit for. I mean, you can't let someone score 31 points, even a player as talented as her. I think we just need to do a better job.
Riley?
In the third quarter, Indiana went on a 7-0 run, multiple 5-0 runs. They ended up winning the quarter 22-17. What went wrong, particularly in the third quarter?
I think it's going to be something that we have to watch film on for sure. I think, we know that they're going to go on runs, and so really coming together and capitalizing on next play speed, whether it's maybe gambling or something along those lines. I think we just need to be really disciplined and cut those runs shorter, faster.
There's a couple turnovers in that third quarter that were unforced, and we just got a little loose with the ball that led to, we talk about live ball turnovers and how hard those are to defend in transition. And I think, those are momentum builders, right? And I think we had a couple more in that third quarter than we had.
Sean?
You guys were able to get it down to 6 at the end of that third, and then Shea gets that easy layup to open the fourth. Mm-hmm. They ended up using their challenge. How much do you feel like that benefited you guys, like having that kind of long break to just kind of reset? Because after that, you guys went on a 16-6 run, take that lead. Just how beneficial was that? Like, obviously not a timeout that you guys are taking, but being able to kind of use that time to your advantage, and just how pleased were you with your guys' ability to kind of really rebound well off of that?
I think in that challenge, like long break, we really talked about coming together and pushing the last, I think there was like 9:15 on the clock or something like that. So really pushing those last 9 minutes, which we should have been doing the whole time. But I think just being able to respond, I think that was pretty good. I think that was something we talked about in our huddle.
Yeah, I think anytime, we have the opportunity to hear each other's voices, hear the coaches' voices, and just like regroup is always super helpful. I think we do a really good job in our huddles of being very intentional on what we have to focus on. And, we do a pretty good job of recognizing like when someone's maybe a little off or whatever it is and really addressing it. So I think a little bit of that happened too in that huddle of like, hey, we don't have much time left. If we're going to try to cut this, we have to do it now. And obviously it didn't end up working out. But again, it's a 40-minute game. You can't decide with 9 minutes left that now it's time to win.
Riley?
Obviously not the result you guys wanted, but you did show resiliency, and you've had comeback wins earlier in the season. How much is resilience and that ability to battle back part of the identity of this team, and how did it become that?
I think resilience is obviously an awesome characteristic and something that we want to show, because regardless of if it's a close game or whatever it is, like it's basketball, it's a game of runs. So obviously like the other team's going to score, and how quickly can you respond to that and show that toughness. But we mentioned this at the beginning of the season, like we don't want to be down and having to come back. Like those comeback wins were great, but ultimately like doing that every time isn't sustainable. So like our starts, we have to come out and be better in the first half. Like I think that's a big part of it. And then today I felt like, yeah, our resiliency was good, but I feel like it took a little too long to get there.
Any other questions for the student athletes? You two are dismissed. We'll open up the floor to questions for Coach P. Mark, you can start.
Yeah. Robin, it didn't obviously result in a win, but especially in those final two quarters, maybe a final quarter and a half, Kira as a playmaker, setting up shots, and I think she had most of her assists came during that final 12 minutes or something like that. I mean, can you speak to that aspect of her game? And obviously after the first half, they were kind of clamping down on her. What did you see in terms of adjustments, and can you speak to kind of, what kind of impact she can have as a facilitator?
Yeah, I think it really helped to, when we went with Shea at the 5, they couldn't take their big and just clog up the paint, and so they had to come out more on the perimeter, which allowed, for maybe some better screening action, some tight cuts. They had to respect those. But I think KD's, obviously a really talented player, 3-level scorer, high basketball IQ, works really, really hard, really passionate about the game, way too hard on herself at times. But I think, that's just part of our offensive identity is having multiple players that can push and transition, but also create off the bounce. We felt like against a team like Indiana, what we had seen on film is that they really do they stay home on their shooters, and so there's going to be some opportunities to attack off the bounce. And when they made the adjustment at halftime and we got them to bite a little bit on our penetration, there were opportunities to kick.
Sean?
Shea Bolin provided a really nice spark for you guys off the bench. I think all of her points were in the second half. And it ended a run of 3 games in which she hadn't scored in double figures since San Diego. Just how happy were you with her performance and just getting some really solid bench production out of her, and just especially now as kind of you're getting into the run-in where that type of production is something you're going to really look forward to?
Yeah, I thought she had some really good minutes for us. I think, some of the things that she does doesn't always show up in a stat, in a box score. She's I think, elite level communicator. It helps her team be connected. There's a seamless flow to what we're doing offensively, but also our communication on the defensive end. And so, tonight, I just felt like she did by having her on the floor, again, it made them come out on the perimeter and guard her, which opened up some other things. And I don't think the bigs were used to playing other bigs that maybe could shoot the 3-ball like Shea.
Riley?
Coach, Destiny Howell had 11 points in the fourth quarter and was just hitting shot after shot down the clutch. How big is her impact on the team, and is she the go-to player when it comes to crunch time?
Yeah, I think there's a combination. I think it's her and KD, but we've got to find a way to get, we got to find a way to get her going for 40 minutes. I mean, just have that dog mentality and that killer instinct. And, I think she's still, and I know it's getting late in the season, and I understand that, but she's coming from Howard University where the physicality is just different in the Power 5 and in the Big Ten. And, instead of getting frustrated without the freedom of movement, and kind of making it be back on our heels a little bit, to understand the importance of playing with change of speed and change of direction and being able to fight through that instead of just kind of surrendering to it. And so, trying to talk her through that during the game and just that gritty, like that relentless approach, because she's so good when the ball's in her hands. And finally, obviously, much better second half. But, I feel like we're at that point now, beginning of February. She's seen enough Big Ten games to understand what this looks like, and just really has to be intentional about setting her mind before the first jump.
Mark?
Robbie, obviously you were, frustrated with, the game. It could be easy for a team to feel like, hey, we came back from 12 points down, and hey, we almost had a chance to win, and maybe feel like a moral victory type of thing. I guess I'm curious, going into the locker room, what did you sense the vibe was? Did you sense that the players were as frustrated, with the outcome as you?
Well, yeah, absolutely. There's no moral victories in this sport. Point blank, period. The mission is to compete as hard as you can compete for 40 minutes and be as connected as you can be connected. And we haven't gotten that done yet. And that's frustrating for me. There wasn't a lot of dialogue in that locker room, I'll be honest with you. I think sometimes it's important that you take a breath as a coach and just give it some time and space. Tonight was one of those nights. I mean, they've told me many times they want my raw emotions. They want to know exactly how I feel. And how I felt was we didn't put together a 40-minute game tonight. We didn't come out of the gates with a dog-like mentality that we were going to attack, that we're going to be gritty, that we're going to be resilient. And they figured it out at halftime, for sure. And, but that's 20 minutes too late in the Big Ten. It's a 40-minute game, and you got to show up, and you got to do your work. I think there's definitely some good things in here, for sure. I thought from a rebounding standpoint, I think we were down at half, ended up out-rebounding them, did a much better job taking care of the ball, which has been a challenge for us in the past. We've got to find a way to get to the free throw line. point blank period. I feel like we're going inside enough that, there's some opportunities to get to that free throw line. But that's just not going to cut it in Big Ten play that you get 7 attempts at the free throw line. So got to find ways to be even more aggressive in the paint. And like you said, there were stretches that absolutely, and we'll celebrate those and we'll talk about those. But at the end of the day, it's a 40-minute game. And, forget the scoreboard, how we approach it, how hard we compete for 40 minutes, how locked in we are. That's what I'm looking for. I don't know what the end result will say, but that's what I'm looking for, and we didn't have that tonight.